The Human Centipede. Concept, execution and claim. Let us proceed slowly and descriptively. The Human Centipede film series, released between 2009 and 2015, directed by Tom Six, consists of 3 films that deliberately escalate in scale, explicitness, and conceptual framing. The series is frequently described as extreme or grotesque, yet its persistence suggests a sustained inquiry rather than an isolated provocation. What is being examined is not only bodily harm, but the conditions under which dehumanization becomes acceptable when framed as experiment, entertainment, or justice. At its core, the series proposes an idea of forced integration. Multiple individuals are reduced into a single functional unit, not to explore cooperation, but to erase individuality entirely. Identity is overridden through physical constraint. Autonomy is removed. The resulting form is not meant to survive as a community, but to exist as an object. The premise operates less as narrative fiction and more as an extreme thought experiment. The first film, The Human Centipede, first sequence is comparatively restrained. It presents a limited number of subjects, a single authority figure, and a controlled environment. The antagonist is framed as an individual acting under a private obsession rather than as a representative of a system. Violence is present, but the framing emphasizes procedure rather than chaos. The central implication is that technical expertise, when detached from ethics, can rationalize almost any outcome. The horror derives from plausibility and isolation. The experiment exists unseen, unchallenged, and internally justified. The second film, The Human Centipede Part 2, full sequence abandons this restraint. It recontextualizes the first film as media consumed by the antagonist. The authority of expertise is replaced by obsession without competence. The execution becomes excessive and deliberately uncomfortable. Any remaining scientific pretense is removed. Here the claim shifts. Exposure itself becomes the catalyst. The film suggests that repetition of violent imagery can generate imitation without understanding. Control is no longer methodical. It is compulsive. Violence no longer requires rational, only access and fixation. The third film, The Human Centipede Part 3, final sequence expands the setting to an institutional scale. The experiment is placed within a prison system, introducing bureaucratic authority rather than individual pathology. Punishment is explicitly framed as reform. Language associated with deterrence, justice, and rehabilitation is used directly. One-line references transformative justice delivered in scenes where prisoners are rendered incapable of re-offending, not through moral change, but through complete loss of agency. This usage is deliberate. In established discourse, transformative justice refers to approaches that address harm by changing conditions and relationships without relying on punishment or incapacitation. In the film, the term is inverted. Transformation becomes erasure. Rehabilitation becomes neutralization. Crime is prevented not by responsibility or repair, but by the elimination of autonomy. The logic presented is that total control guarantees compliance. The film does not disguise this logic. It exposes how justice language can be repurposed to legitimize cruelty when outcomes are prioritized over ethics. Across the trilogy, a single question is tested repeatedly. How much inhumanity will be tolerated when it is framed as experiment, spectacle, or correction? Each installment removes another barrier. The first isolates harm. The second normalizes repetition. The third institutionalizes it. The continuation of the series does not aim toward resolution or redemption. It documents escalation. Context collapses while participation continues. What remains is normalization. The series does not argue that its actions are justified. It demonstrates that they are possible and that consumption persists even as meaning erodes. In this sense, the films function as stress tests. They test audience thresholds, the elasticity of moral language, and the ease with which control can be mistaken for justice. Instinct is not the central theme. Authority is. So is framing. When cruelty is described as innovation, punishment, or reform, resistance weakens. The films record this process without interruption. This account does not defend the material. It does not seek redemption with it. It reports the claim made by its existence, escalation, and continued visibility. No intervention, only observation.